Yashveta Padmasana Ya Brahma Chuta Shankara Pravitibhir Devo Sada Vandita Samam Patu Saraswati Bhagawati Nishesha Charyalpa Nishesha Charyalpa Nishesha Charyalpa. Shriman Narayana Narayana Hari Hari Shriman Narayana यशोमती मैया से बोले नंदलाला, राधा क्यों गोरी मैं क्यों काला, राधा क्यों गोरी मैं क्यों काला। यशोमती मैया से बोले नंदलाला, राधा क्यों गोरी मैं क्यों काला। राधा से मैया ललन को बताया, बोली मुस्काती मैया ललन को बताया। कारी अंधियारी आधी रात में तो आया, कारी अंधियारी आधी रात में तो आया। लाडला कन्हैया मेरा ओ, लाडला कन्हैया मेरा काली कमली वाला, इसलिए काला। यशोमती मैया से बोले नंदलाला, राधा क्यों गोरी मैं क्यों काला, राधा क्यों गोरी मैं क्यों काला। बोली मुस्काते मैया सुन मेरे प्यारे, बोली मुस्काते मैया सुन मेरे प्यारे। गोरी गोरी राधिका के नैन कजरा रे, गोरी गोरी राधिका के नैन कजरा रे। लाल ननवारी ने ओ, काले नैनवारी ने ऐसा जादू डाला, इसलिए काला। यशोमती मैया से बोले नंदलाला, राधा क्यों गोरी मैं क्यों काला, राधा क्यों गोरी मैं क्यों काला। इतने में राधा प्यारी आई इतलाती, इतने में राधा प्यारी आई इतलाती। मैंने न जादू डाला भोले बलकाती, मैंने न जादू डाला भोले बलकाती। मैया कन्हैया तेरा ओ, मैया कन्हैया तेरा जग से निराला, इसलिए काला। यशोमती मैया से बोले नंदलाला, राधा क्यों गोरी मैं क्यों काला, राधा क्यों गोरी मैं क्यों काला, राधा क्यों गोरी मैं क्यों काला। ओम हसतो तमसो ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मामृतंगमय। Everyone together. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
Welcome to satsang. We'll begin as always with a question that's come in advance and then open it up to any questions that anyone here may have. How can we avoid consumerism of city life and connect with Mother Nature in today's world? Sadly, it's not city life that has turned us into consumers. There's a cultural pull that says, oh, are you unhappy? Are you frustrated? Are you lonely? Are you bored? Are you unfulfilled? Are you wondering if this is all life is? If so, we have the answer for you. You need this pair of jeans, this handbag, this type of car, and your experience of emptiness or longing or sadness or boredom will go away. Now, when I say it like that, it sounds very superficial, and it sounds like, oh no, we wouldn't believe that. But look for a moment at how advertising works. Everything we try to sell, we sell it as happiness. It's very interesting, no matter what we're trying to sell. So you take, for example, my favorite example of this is the example of soap. Okay? And what does soap do? It cleans you. If I were going to sell soap honestly, I would say my brand of soap removes this many bacteria compared to that brand of soap. My brand of soap keeps you smelling good for this many hours compared to that brand of soap. But soap is never marketed like that. Soap commercials usually look like this. Beautiful woman is having a shower in the morning, and she's lathering up and she's singing in the shower, and it's a beautiful morning. And then her equally beautiful husband comes in the bathroom and he's also singing. And then they walk out and they walk into the kitchen, and their beautiful child has miraculously gotten himself up out of bed, bathed himself, dressed himself, eaten his breakfast, and the three of them walk out of the house together, hand in hand, and all you see is a little one line that says zest or oil of Olay or, whatever brand of soap I'm trying to sell you. It just comes in very subtly at the end. Now, nowhere did it say, wow, you're so clean. Nowhere did it say, oh wait, where'd that bacteria go? Nowhere did it say, oh wow, I bet you're going to smell fresh all day. We're selling happy families. We're not selling soap. And this is true with whatever we sell. You look at car commercials, right? So car commercials usually look like one of two types of genres. Either you've got the single person, man or woman, driving off into a sunset, mountains and sunset, and it's just this extraordinary epitome of freedom. So do you feel stuck? Do you feel trapped? This car will drive you into the sunset. Your hair will be, blowing in the wind because, of course, it's a convertible. And the sun is setting, and it's just you and the universe, and you are free. Or They're your like safety minivan type of car commercials with the husband and the wife in the front and the kids in the back who are singing together. And you think, well, God, when I drive, my kids try to strangle each other in the back seat. But these kids are singing together. So maybe the problem is I'm driving the wrong type of car. Right? And if you don't feel like singing in the shower in the morning, or your husband doesn't come into the bathroom singing, or you don't have a husband, or you have to drag your kid out of bed, or you don't have a kid, well, the problem is you're not using the right brand of soap. Again, sitting here, it's laughable, but it works. And that's why these advertising executives, people make lots of money. And these companies are spending millions and billions of dollars to sell you soap through what looks like a 30-second beautiful sitcom of a happy family. Or to sell you a car through what just looks like a gorgeous person driving out into the horizon. Nothing to do with a car. This is the root of where consumerism comes from. It's not the city or the country or the town. It comes from our collective agreement to be so unconscious as to allow ourselves to be brainwashed in a way that is so utterly ridiculous that when I give it to you here, you laugh. But when you see it on TV or you see the ad in the magazine or online, you click and buy. But here's what's even more dangerous about it. We obviously can't keep buying every single brand new type of soap or every new car or every new mobile. But what we all do buy is the message, the underlying message, which is that which I have, that which I am, is not enough. I'm not happy enough. I'm not rich enough. My family is not pretty enough. They don't get along well enough together. Our house isn't nice enough or clean enough or whatever that commercial is showing. And the answer to my problems is to have something from outside. So even if I don't necessarily buy that handbag or that car or that pair of jeans, I've bought the underlying message that the answer is something outside. And this is where our lives run off the track. Because this is where we start looking for outside what I need. And whether it's a handbag or a pair of jeans or it's just a better job so I can have more money and buy more things. Either way, I've lost the truth that these things don't buy happiness. And you don't need me sitting up here in satsang to tell you that. You know that. Because we've all bought things that we thought would make us happy. I mean, is there anyone sitting in here who hasn't ever bought anything that you didn't actually need because you thought that having it would make you feel happier, feel more beautiful, feel more successful, feel more free, feel more, whatever it is? We do this. But it doesn't work. But most of us tend not to sadly learn the lesson after once. I mean, you'd think one time you do it, it doesn't work, and you would never do it again because you'd say, boy, that was a waste of money. But then we find ourselves needing shopping therapy with some regular basis. Right? And we actually have a term for it, shopping therapy. And sadly, it's not therapy to help you stop shopping. It's therapy, shopping as therapy to help you feel better, which is ludicrous. That's where consumerism comes from. And so this is where we need to really, as the question says, we connect with Mother Earth. Not just in this vague way of, yeah, I should protect Mother Earth, but because actually being connected to the earth, to nature, connects us to the truth of ourselves. And this is where it's so important to actually have time in nature. This is why, whether it's lying down and looking at the stars in the sky, watching a sunset, walking in the forest, watching the waves on the ocean, whatever it may be, it's so important. It actually literally grounds our energy. Every electricity thing, this camera, this light, this mic, all of our electricity needs grounding. If we didn't have wires that ran in the earth, we couldn't operate any of this because it would keep electrocuting us. Grounding is required for energy. And our bodies are energy. And so that earth, which is the same thing that keeps our electricity running properly and smoothly and not electrocuting you, is the same thing that keeps the energy of our body running smoothly and not metaphorically electrocuting us as we move through our lives. And so it's not that shopping is bad, it's not that buying things is bad, it's that this consumerism to be happy, consumerism to feel better, consumerism to deal with my boredom or frustration or sadness, it harms us in a lot of ways. Number one, most of us don't have so much extra money that we can just take it and throw it away. So it's money that we then don't have to do things like make sure we're buying organic food. Then we say, oh, I don't have the money to buy organic because I've thrown it away on my shopping therapy. Or use the money to work a little bit less so I actually have time to be meditating, to be going to yoga, to be doing seva, to be doing other things. If I weren't throwing away my money on shopping therapy, could work a few hours less and could actually have time. So the throwing away of the money is one problem, but the other problem is it keeps us stuck in that illusion that if I just find the right thing to buy, I'll be happy. The reason I'm not happy yet is I haven't found the right thing to buy. And all you have to do is go online. And it's getting amazing. You don't even have to go actually on, Amazon or websites to buy things. They'll send them to you while you're checking your email. It's incredible. I'll click on a link somebody sent me to an article in the New York Times or some online article. And suddenly there's ads popping up about everything that I may have spoken to someone about in an email. So let's say maybe someone is coming to visit, say for example, someone is arriving from Paris and I get an email that says, my friends are coming in from Paris and they really want to come to Arti and Satsang. Can you give them a few minutes? And I forward it on to someone and say, please note, these people are coming from Paris. Make sure that I see them. Next thing I know, I click on a link to read an article in the New York Times and there's ads to go to Paris. Like somehow the algorithm has decided that I need a trip to Paris. And it's hotels in Paris, and it's flights to Paris, and it's all. So the point is, if our minds are even a little bit weak, advertising has gotten so smart. It's not just a billboard anymore. They now literally have invisible cameras, essentially, in your life. And what that means is that we have to be more vigilant. And again, it's not that there's anything wrong with a trip to Paris. It's that if my mind were a little bit weaker, or I were a little bit less conscious, or I were bored or frustrated or unfulfilled, it wouldn't occur to me, oh, I'm seeing this because I was emailing about Paris. It would be like, oh, yeah, that's what I need. The Champs-Élysées. Yeah. And next thing you know, I've flown off to Paris as the cure to my frustration, my sadness, my loneliness, my depression. I have no idea how it happened. And this is what's happening in our lives. So, A, we're wasting our money. B, we are perpetuating this myth that the answer is something outside. And C, we're actually harming the planet. Because most of that which we spend our money on shopping therapy on are actual literal possessions. Those possessions are manufactured in factories. Those factories spew waste into the air, into the soil, into the water. Those factories are using resources of Mother Earth. And some things we need. And again, there's nothing wrong with having things. But in this rampant consumerism of things we don't need to fill holes that don't even exist, but that we think exist. We think I'm not enough. We think I don't have enough. We think I'm lacking in some way. And in order to fill that, we end up wasting our money, wasting our time, driving ourselves crazy, and ruining the environment. And so that's the real triple tragedy of the consumerism. But the great news is, the answer is really simple. It's not one of those rocket science, you have to be enlightened to solve it. All you need to be is conscious. Because sitting in this room right now, when I say these things, you laugh, you smile, you look at each other and laugh. You get it. We all get it. And simply by getting it, you're immune to it. If as we were talking about this, suddenly from behind my head, an ad popped up of, a beautiful woman and a handbag, or a macho guy and a mobile or something, we'd laugh. We'd understand, oh yeah, that's what we're talking about. We wouldn't pull out our phones and go on Amazon because I got to have that. Just being conscious of what it is you're seeing, what it is that's happening, is actually enough to inoculate you against it. It's one of those beautiful aspects of life that doesn't require enlightenment, full, complete awakening. It just requires being present and conscious and aware, and not handing over our minds as slaves to business people's algorithms. Because that's what it's become. That which you see online is the result of some algorithm someone has programmed in order to make money. The universe is not sending you ads. This is not God's divine plan that that ad has shown up. It has shown up because it is the end result of an equation that someone sitting at a computer who's being paid money to write equations has written to sell you whatever the ad that has popped up is trying to sell you. That's all it is. And the minute you realize that, you're immune to its impact. So I'm happy. Yeah, wow. I'm happy to take any questions that are here, but he was ready. Yes, one and then two. Yes.
If we shift from, for example, shopping therapy to grounding ourselves, and there also we find we are bounded, we have bound our happiness to these things also, like walking in the forest, sitting in front of Ganga. Then what we should do?
Okay. So he said, what do we do? You know, I had spoken about grounding ourselves in nature. And he said, well, but then aren't we just making ourselves stuck, that our happiness is attached to walking in a forest or sitting on the banks of Ganga? Look, there are three parts of us. There's lots of parts of us, but for the simple sake of right now, we'll call it three. Okay? Our physical body and our brain. Okay? So that includes then, of course, how we feel in our minds. I'm going to include the brain as part of the body. It's physical. What does it need? It needs food. It needs oxygen. It needs water. It needs sleep. It runs based on those things. What I feed it, what's in the air I'm breathing in, the water I take in, and the rest I give it. That's pretty much how our bodies function. Our brains, also physical, are being fed by all of that. So ever feed a kid too much sugar, and you watch what happens. In the brain, what happens when the sugar, it happens to all of us, but it's much more noticeable in little kids. You feed them a bunch of sugar and they bounce off the walls for a few hours and then collapse on the floor. It's a chemical reaction. Nothing wrong with them emotionally. It's a literal chemical reaction to the sugar that they have eaten. Don't sleep enough. There's all kinds of studies that show how lack of sleep literally is the equivalent of being drunk. They've done these studies with truck drivers, for example, and how truck drivers who drive all night and who don't sleep, literally it's the equivalent of drunk driving. Meaning, sleep or lack thereof, something very physical, is creating a chemical pattern in my brain that makes me unable to properly steer, properly have impulses, makes me much more prone to accidents. Take drugs, alcohol, legal drugs, illegal drugs. These things all impact our brain, therefore our mind. That's why we feel different when we're drunk. Right? I mean, when people wake up the next morning and they say, oh my God, I can't believe I did that last night. Well, who was the I who did it? It was you. But you say, oh my God, that wasn't me. Well, then who was it? Well, it was you, but it was you under the chemical influence, meaning my brain was having a chemical response that caused me to do all kinds of really stupid, embarrassing things, that now when I'm not having a chemical reaction, I regret. Okay? So we have that physical aspect, body, brain. It needs proper food, proper water, proper air, proper rest. Okay. Then we have what you could call our feeling heart. And I've purposely kept the mind and our thoughts in the first category, because most of that really is just stuff of the brain. It's what we take in by the world around us, by the TV we watch, by the social media we see, by the company we keep, all of that. That's what impacts our thoughts. But then you have your actual feeling heart, your ability to connect with truth, with love. That experience of I'm awake, I'm present, my eyes are open, but I'm not in my brain, I'm in my heart. That feeling when I'm on the banks of Ganga in Arati. That feeling when I'm in love. That feeling when I'm walking in nature. All of those aspects. Then we have soul, spirit, consciousness. That ultimate truth of who we are. Okay? Soul, spirit, consciousness needs nothing. It just is. We talk sometimes about development of the soul. The soul isn't developing. The soul just is. The soul is divine. The soul is infinite. The soul is full, complete, one with the Creator, one with the creation. When we say Soham, Aham Brahmasmi, all of these teachings of I am God, I am divine, that's the soul. My mind isn't divine. My mind is full of silly things. Body is not divine because divine means eternal. My body's going to die. What is it that's God? That soul, that spirit, that of me which is infinite. Okay, so soul, spirit needs nothing. Body needs food, water, nourishment, rest. Heart needs connection, truth, love, because that is the truth of who you are. Now, of course, all three of these things intersect. The body that's connected to love and to spirit is actually healthier. The love I feel improves my immune system. So they interact and connect in beautiful ways. But going back specifically to your question of, okay, well, now am I just stuck needing, the forest or the banks of Mother Ganga? Well, the question is, in your life, we have to make choices. I have to choose what I'm going to eat every meal. I have to choose how many hours I'm going to sleep at night. I have to choose where I'm going to live, what type of job I'm going to have. We make all sorts of choices. And it helps when you make those choices to make them in alignment with what the parts of you need. So is this decision in alignment with something that some part of me needs or benefits by? Is it good for my body? Is it healthy and nourishing? Does it make my mind peaceful? This is why we eat sattvic food, right? Sattvic food isn't just good for the body, neck down. It's good for the brain, therefore the mind. Makes us feel peaceful and calm. So if I'm making a choice to be in the forest or on the banks of Ganga, it's not that you're stuck being there because you need it to be happy, but it's an awareness of what are my priorities? What does who I am and all the different parts need? And how can I give that to them? And so it doesn't mean that you have to be there all the time. Like, you don't have to eat all day long to nourish your body. In fact, that would harm your body. You eat, and then you stop eating for a period of time. And then when your blood sugar is low, you eat again. You don't sleep all the time. Wouldn't help you. You sleep for some, then you stop sleeping. Then when the body is run down, you sleep again. In the same way. You don't have to spend your entire life lying in the dirt in the forest. You don't have to spend your whole life watching the ocean. Again, wouldn't be good. In the same way that sleeping all day or eating all day. Because we are called upon to actually manifest through the world. We're called upon to be actively engaged with co-creating our lives and the entire world we live in. And it's hard to do that if you're either eating all day, sleeping all day, or lying in the dirt all day. But we do those things to charge different aspects of our batteries. We do those things to bring different aspects of us back into health and into balance. It would be like saying, well, God, so am I stuck having to eat in order to keep my body healthy? Yeah. Sorry. Am I stuck having to sleep to keep my body healthy? Yeah. And it's sad, you know, in today's world, there's almost this odd esteem and prestige and pride in somehow repressing the body. Oh, I only get 3 hours of sleep a night. Oh yeah, you know, I don't take care of myself at all. As though somehow that were something to brag about, as though that were something to be proud of. It's not anything to be proud of. The body is a temple. And we have to take care of it. That doesn't mean giving in to every desire, every call, every urge. But it means recognizing that it's a temple. And it means recognizing that the health of the body has a huge impact on the health of my brain, therefore my mind. And so I eat well, I drink water, I sleep. And in the same way, my heart and my mind and all of that needs grounding, needs to come back. I meditate, I do japa, I do seva, because we need all of those. It's not just the forest. They all fill us in different ways. It's like, yeah, you need protein, and you need carbs, and you need this, and you need water, and we need so many different things. Because they each charge us in different ways. And being in nature charges us in a very special way. So get some of it. Like, get some meditation. Get some prayer. Get some japa. Get some seva. They're going to charge you in very different ways. But it doesn't make you stuck. It actually makes you free. Because when you run and run and run and run and run and live a life that's not in alignment with anything that's actually true or healthy for you, that's when you're stuck. That's when you're stuck because someone says, oh, you need to make this money. In order to make that money, you need to work a 100-hour work week at this company that you don't believe in anything they stand for. It's 3 hours from your house, but you need to make the money. That's being stuck. So it just requires us to rethink it a little bit. Yeah.
Thank you. I have a question about mental health that might actually be a link between the former two questions.
Okay.
And I'm interested in if you have an explanation for this very big increase in mental health diagnoses, particularly depression, anxiety disorder, attention disorder, in so many Western cultures. It's also associated with psychopharmacological drug consumption, and how that would be compared to India.
Great. Okay. And it's a beautiful question. We'll take this as our last question this evening. And he asked about mental health and the rise of mental health diagnoses. So many people being diagnosed with depression, with anxiety, with attention deficit disorder, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, all of these sorts of disorders, the rise in people being diagnosed with them and how that compares with India. So I think there's a lot of things going on. Mahatma Gandhi said very beautifully, he said, what's the point of running so fast when we're running in the wrong direction? And I think a lot of what's happening in our world is we're running in the wrong direction. We are running after money. We're running after possessions. We're running after titles. We're running after all of this. And of course, it's all linked because in order to get the title, I have to put in the time. In order to have the money, I have to put in the time, which means I don't have time left to properly rest, to exercise, to meditate, to pray, to do seva, to be on the banks of Ganga. And so then my health, physical and mental, suffers. But it also suffers on a more subtle way. So it suffers directly simply due to how much time and energy I'm pouring into something that's not bringing me happiness. So I no longer have time to do the things that are. But it also, there is an intelligence in us. We're not really quite as clueless as most of us live. This is where a lot of people say, I can't meditate. I sit down to meditate, and I just can't do it. I have to stand up. I've had a lot of people say to me, I just can't close my eyes and sit down. Give me something else to do. And the reason that simply sitting down and closing your eyes is so hard is because we do know what's going on. But if we can keep running fast enough, we cannot look at it. And the idea of sitting and closing our eyes is so scary because, oh my God, what am I going to distract myself with so that I don't have to look at my life? And so by running and running and running, after things that even I know on a deep level are not what's going to bring me happiness, are not in service of the world, are not in humility and surrender and connection, but are just in going along with someone's indoctrination that I need to become this, have that, buy this, achieve this. There's a part of me that knows that isn't right. And that part of me gets deeply depressed. So I don't meditate because I don't want to see it. The other thing people do, and this is where we have the rise of addictions, drug addictions, alcoholism, eating disorders, gambling addictions, Facebook addictions, whatever it may be. I mean, give us anything, we will figure out how to get addicted to it. Because really what we're addicted to is distraction. And so each of us needs something else. For some of us, we may be able to properly satisfy our distraction needs with Facebook. Some people need to go as far as heroin. But regardless of what it is I'm using them to get out of the present moment. Whether it's my Facebook feed, or injecting heroin, or gambling, or pornography, or promiscuity, or anything in between. It's this present moment is intolerable to me. I'm bored, I'm frustrated. I feel small, I feel stuck, I feel disconnected. Therefore, I'm going to eat, drink, use, gamble, have sex, whatever I'm going to do. And so the rise of this is because we are getting more and more disconnected, with more and more ways to distract ourselves and pull us away from the truth of who we are. So that, I think, is the core spiritual reason that we're seeing the rise of this. And why traditionally in India, for example, it's so rare. It's getting more and more, sadly. I've watched it. I've been in India 23 years, and I've watched it explode in 23 years as India has gotten much more indoctrinated by more Western material values. So we're depressed because we're looking outward for something that doesn't exist outward. So I'm looking for my happiness in money, in some sort of career that is going to be something that's better than what I have at the moment, in a relationship, in a picture that I have. And what media and social media have done, media's always done it, but social media now gives to us so quickly that we just get inundated, is a non-stop feed of what I don't have. A non-stop feed of my not enoughness. And so it's whether it's through advertising, which we're just being inundated with constantly, or whether it's through just the general sort of agreed upon superficiality of social media. One of the really common things that people who use social media say is, yeah, you know, I always post kind of this false happiness. But what's interesting that happens is people know they're posting a false happiness. They know they're not that happy, but they're only posting, you know, here's me and life is so great. And they know they're not quite so happy. But when they scroll through their feed and they see everyone else's posts like that, they assume that everyone else is that happy. And so every one of us who does that is then complicit in this indoctrination that says you are the only one who's not happy enough. Because as you scroll and you think, oh my God, I'm not that happy. Look, everybody is so happy. Everybody's got a beautiful family. Everybody seems to be taking the day off. Like, how is everyone having a picnic today? How is everyone at the park with their family today? So everybody is really happy. Everybody's sitting in a cafe somewhere over a cappuccino. Like, why am I the only one stuck at work? And we feel more depressed. But then, of course, what do? We sneak out for a 5-minute cappuccino and post a picture of ourselves having it. and become then complicit in this, then someone else sees and they think, my God, she also is so happy. There's actually lots of statistics about the relationship between time spent on social media and depression. And it's not as simple as I'm depressed so I go on social media. It's the social media feed that I'm seeing. Far from connecting us, which originally it was started to do, right? My friends, let's be friends, you're my friend, great. It started as that. Friends connecting. But now it's actually something that is linked to more depression, more suicide. There's direct relationships between the number of hours that especially youth spend on social media and risk of depression and risk of suicide. And so I think that's one of the main things also that's causing it to rise. Lastly, a lot of it is what we're eating on just a purely physical level. The processed, packaged, chemical-laden foods that we are eating. And it's a vicious cycle because when I'm depressed, what do I want? Chips and pretzels and ice cream and French fries and, right, comfort food, which actually leads to a sense of literal dis-ease in the body, a numbing. Anybody here ever eaten too much ice cream or too many French fries or too many cookies or too much cake? Anybody here not ever done that? Think for just a moment, not how your stomach feels after that, but how your brain feels. It's numb. It's actually a drug. The stomach may feel not so great, but the brain actually is in this numbed, drugged out kind of, all right, life is fine state. But it's a very low grade depression. And as we do that to ourselves, with blood sugar going up and down and that kind of numbness of what we're eating, of the chemicals, of the preservatives, of all of that nonsense. And as we're using the food to numb ourselves, it becomes this cycle. So that vibrancy in life, that consciousness, presence, that tingling of the literal cells of the self gets numbed and dumbed down. So it's all of that. And lastly, when you ask about ADHD and ADD, I have a theory, but I have to admit in the beginning it's important. This is only a theory. I have enough of a foundation of neurology knowledge to think it's an educated theory. I think it's a good theory. But it's still only a theory. My theory is that here's what we know. Here are the facts. The facts are that our brain changes. Whatever we do, whatever world we are in, whatever experiences we are having, changes our brain. So for example, if I tie my two fingers together for a week, my brain will change. If I'm right-handed and I start doing everything with my left hand, if I tape my right hand to my chest and I start doing everything with my left hand, my brain will change. Learn a foreign language. Good for your brain. What does that mean? Changes your brain. Now, kids' brains keep changing very, very quickly. When we give kids really fast-moving TV with really fast-moving commercials, because you've got 30 seconds to just say it all, so you better say it all in your 30-second commercial. So commercials are really, really, really fast. I know for me, if I'm in a house where a TV is on and I walk by, even if it's in English, I can almost never actually understand what they're saying because they're speaking so quickly. My brain doesn't pick up language quite so fast. But TV is very, very fast. People speak very, very quickly, especially in the commercials. So we give kids very fast-moving TV. Then we give them, as the TV is on, things are scrolling around the bottom, things are up here, then they've got now video games and now smartphones and iPads and whatnot. Everything moves very, very fast. If you see the games the kids play, the video games that they play, they're very, very fast. So the brains of the kids are growing in a world where life moves very fast. That becomes the new normal for their brains. This is why when parents look at the games the kids play, parents are like, oh my God, I don't have any idea how you can do that. It makes me dizzy. Why does it make you dizzy? Because it's moving too fast for your brain, but the children's brains are actually changing and adapting to that speed. So that has become the new normal. Now you put those kids in a classroom. One teacher, one chalkboard. Speaking in a normal tone of voice, a normal speed. For their brains that have become adapted to this very fast speed, that classroom is way too slow. I am convinced, and this part is theory, I am convinced that if teachers started throwing balls at their students' heads while they taught, or if you had one teacher working on a chalkboard and another teacher throwing, Nerf balls at the kids' heads so it didn't actually hurt them, but just were bouncing off, and the kids had to be dodging or catching balls at the same time that they were watching what was going on the chalkboard, I'm actually convinced they'd learn better. And the reason that I have that as my theory is the drugs that we give kids who have ADD are actually speed. They're drugs that activate them. Now you would think, but these kids are hyperactive. They need something to calm them down. But the prescription medicines that are most frequently given for kids with attention deficit disorder is actually a medicine that speeds them up. So the problem is not that they are too active. The problem is they're not engaged enough. They're bored. Hence they are all over the place. And I think a lot of it has to do with how we have changed their brains with the TV, with the devices, with the speed at which that all goes. Another very good reason, by the way, to get kids in the dirt. Get them in nature. Nature, bless you, nature moves at a normal speed. It's not slow. Birds fly quite quickly. Certain chipmunks move really fast. But it's a natural speed. It's the natural speed of life. And we as humans slow down in nature automatically. There is something about being in nature, even if the river is running fast, the bird is flying fast, the squirrel is scurrying fast. But we slow down. It's like everything becomes its own natural speed in nature. And so if you can get kids' hands in the dirt, get them hugging trees, get them barefoot in the dirt, barefoot in sand, it literally regrounds them and us. And since our brains are electric, literally, and chemical, that's how they run, it resets them back to the natural speed.